I ran into a couple of problems with my A86 street car build. This is Project Creampuff. It's a A86 hatchback that got saved from the junkyard. It's got a Beams ITB engine, 11 front end, all kinds of good stuff. And I've put a couple thousand miles on it this year while trying to dial in the street car vibe of it. Obviously, the car needs quite a bit of body work to make, the outside perfect, but really what I'm more focused on is the inside feel, the driver feel, things when you're in the driver's seat. What does it feel like? What does it look like? And the couple of things that I've noticed after driving it for quite a bit is like, even with the air conditioning on full blast, yes, I have air conditioning. The floor radiates heat, and in the summer it feels like my shoe is melting to the floor. The other thing is there's a lot of like ambient noise in the car, a lot of road noise and stuff, so I've kind of done a few things to try and mitigate that, but it still is pretty noisy. Let me show you what I mean. I'm cruising in the car right now. I'm doing about 3,000 RPM in 6th gear. Now we're up at just over 3,000, and averaging kind of like 89 decibels. I don't know if you can see that. So that doesn't seem too bad. But what I'm noticing is a lot of noise from wind and from kind of like the tires and stuff. So stuff that kind of hangs in the air to where I feel like I need to talk louder when I'm in the car, or even like when I'm listening to music, I really have to crank the volume up. And I don't like that. I want this to be a little more comfortable. And I've done some stuff to try and make it better. I've got some floor mats in here. And I've even, oh, that's a screw. I've even added some sound deadening panels in here to try and help out as much as I can. But it still isn't quite enough. The obvious next step was to add carpet to the car. I went online and ordered the cheapest carpet kit I could for the 86, which just happened to be Auto Custom Carpets or whatever from some online retailer. And there were a couple different options. There are actually 3 different carpets, and I went for kind of the middle grade. You can see this gray stuff here. That's like a heat and sound barrier. This is the thin stuff. You can get it without it. You can get it with the thicker stuff, or you can get it kind of the middle grade. So I went for the middle grade. The thicker stuff, I was really worried about like heel-toe shifting, and with this being on the transmission tunnel, actually like interfering. So this way, I think that this is going to be, the best middle ground. I think it'll be better than stock carpet. All right, some first thoughts and kind of review of this car before I even put it in the car. If you are going to be doing one of these carpets, you should definitely be prepared to have to customize it a bit. I'm already realizing some stuff. Like looking at the underside here, I can tell like, I think right here, that's square. That's where the shifter's supposed to go. So that's nice that some of it's trimmed out, but not entirely. So I'm definitely have to cut that. There's nothing cut or trimmed on the sides. So I don't really know what to do with that. There's obviously no holes for the seat mounts, no holes for center console, no holes for any of that stuff. So it's definitely going to require some customization to make this work, I think. So I guess we'll see as I go to get it in the car how much of a pain that is. I'm not really looking forward to that bit. But like flipping it over, ugh. Whoop. And looking at it this way, I mean, I can tell it's definitely molded. So like right here, that's the mold for kind of like that front seat bracket where that bolts on, that little chassis rail there. I can definitely see there's some molded to the rear bit here where it, it's gonna sit down in the pocket of the floor well, the transmission tunnel, all that stuff. So there's definitely some molding that should help get it into the right spot. I'm just not looking forward to having to cut and trim things. The carpet, the color's pretty nice, and I like that it's got this little, heel plate here to prevent it from being worn through too bad, but I guess next is gonna be putting it in the car, and I just need to go ahead and get started on that. I got most of the interior out, but as I'm diving deeper into this, I'm realizing something in here. The carpet has to go up and under there, which I ended up pulling the radio out. But to do that, I think I'm gonna have to take apart the rest of the dash here, the bottom parts, to take these
crusty brackets out anyway. That way it'll be easier to slide it in and out, because otherwise it's going to be a huge pain. And I'm really not looking forward to that. All right, the whole interior is ripped out now, so we should be ready to slide the carpet into place. My light died. I had a plug-in light that died, so I'm using a flashlight. I hope this is enough for you. Now with the bottom half of the dash pulled, I've got access to be able to slide it all the way up under there. I'm gonna need to cut some holes for the wires up there, as well as for my subwoofer that runs under here. So if you don't have a subwoofer, don't worry about it. Also, I have to cut some holes for the e-brake and the center section of the rear section of the center console there. I think that's all of the holes I will have to cut. If you are running the stock trunk and gas cap release, you'll have to cut a hole for those here as well. I will probably do that even though I'm not currently running them, and that way I'm prepared for it in the future. All right, I still have 6 inches to go forward, and as you can see, uncut carpet, it is hitting on the air conditioning stuff there. So I'm gonna have to trim some out of the middle. Well, not just the middle at the front, I'm gonna have to trim it all the way across. I look at that going, wow, that is bunching up pretty bad. So I guess I'm gonna trim 6 inches just off the top. Maybe I'll start with 4 inches. We'll trim 4 inches all the way across. Yeah, because like it's just not even close to lining up with the shifter hole yet. So take it all back out, trim it, and put it back in. You know what? This is looking pretty good. I cut a slit here for the e-brake, and I'll take a measurement at some point so you can have that of, you know, measuring back from the shifter hole for the e-brake. And I could see a couple of spots where it's bunching up, like right here, it's kind of bunching up weird on the other side of the trans tunnel. And then as you can see, it's pretty long this way. So I'm probably gonna have to trim a couple inches off of this so it'll lay flat like right in here. And then around the back here, I think I'm gonna leave it long so it tucks under the rear seat. But overall, that's not too bad. It's late, it's hot. I'm gonna call it a day at this point, and we'll get back to it tomorrow or another day to finish it up. I have the carpet pretty well fit in there, forward and back and left and right. Set the center console in here just to see how it all lines up. I've been using this Amazon steamer to steam the carpet to get it to sit down and be less wrinkly. There's still a couple of spots, like right there is a big crease. The steamer helps the material relax. So now I'm at the trimming stage. I'm gonna have to trim for the center console, all that stuff, trim for seat brackets, trim the edges, trim a bit more up here. You can see it's kind of interfering a bit with the steering column and all that stuff. So this all needs to be trimmed. I remembered that I put carpet back in my drift car a long time ago. It's really rough shape, but it might give me a better idea of what I need to trim. The stock AE86 carpet is actually 2 pieces. You got a front and a back section that overlaps right here across the middle. And I can see that this is trimmed pretty wide around the center console. So I know, okay, I need to trim it a little wider so I can access all the bolts and everything, and that'd be okay. I can also see how high up under here it goes. It goes right up the steering column, so I'm pretty close on that. For the center section here, you can see it's pretty well trimmed out around the center console. It has, I think it had like Velcro or something that held it together on my car, but I can see, okay, that's trimmed pretty wide, so I know how to trim that a bit. And then for the rear section, I can see, you know, that's where the rear seat clips into, and there's a hole right there. So I can tell that's about how the hole needs to be trimmed for the rear seat. One of the things the stock carpet has that this aftermarket carpet doesn't have is this plastic bit here, which actually, I mean, it's pretty torn up on my car, but each of those little slots, I think, is where a screw goes in to hold that side trim in place, as well as the carpet. So that lets me know how far I need to trim the carpet down on the new stuff. Time to get trimming. All right, I got all the middle stuff trimmed out for the center console and everything, so I figure I'd show you that real quick and then we'll keep doing the rest of the trimming. While I was trimming in here in the middle, but I was repeatedly going back and forth, installing and reinstalling the center console bits. Center console, the shifter and everything, to make sure that I wasn't gonna cut it too far down, to make sure it wasn't gonna be exposed around the edges of the center console. This is what we ended up with. I kept it all the way through here. I cut around the edges, so it's just enough room to get that bracket in, get screws in, all that stuff. Then moving back, I cut a slit down the middle here because it was bunching up a little weird. I continued with that, with this cut down the middle. I trimmed around so it's about to the edges of each of these. And then for the back part here, I just cut enough. So I went back, see it's open right here, with the little mounting ears exposed. That's all I wanted to do because I wanted to get as much insulation as possible on here to keep heat and noise out. To give you an idea of measurement, here we've got it lined up with the back of the shifter bezel hole. It looks like it's gonna be about 3¼ inches to the center point of these screws here. Let me go back all the way to the shifter. I have it cut open about 11 inches from the back of the shifter bezel there, or the hole for the shifter. And then we continue going back, and it's about the 17-inch mark from there that I have the end of the trim for the handbrake, and then going all the way as far back to this little bracket here. You can see that's at about the 18¼ to 19¼ That's what this is right here. So that should give you a general idea of where to trim at. Everything is a matter of taking your time with it. Measure 10 times, cut once, cut just a little bit at a time until you get everything exposed. That way you don't have it cut too far back. Because of how I've ran the wiring for my stereo system, unfortunately I'm gonna have to cut a slit up there at the front back so the wires can come through and then run underneath the carpet. I really didn't want to do that, but it's just what I'm gonna have to do, unfortunately, just to run the wires. For trimming along the edges, I folded it over and I could see there's already kind of a crease right here along this, and I decided to trim it high first. You know, you can always take material off. You can't put material back on. You know, I want to make sure I had enough material and I wasn't going to take too much off and regret it. I also found this pair of scissors in my garage. That I use for cutting fiberglass, and it works really well to cut carpet too. Driver's side is all done. I got a little ahead of myself and decided to keep trucking along with it and didn't film everything, so I'm gonna talk through kind of the bolt hole stuff that I did. For the seat mounting holes, I just grabbed my screwdriver and I poked through the carpet, and then I took my knife and a razor blade and just kind of cut around to make that what it is. I did that for all 4 bolt holes. Here's mine cut out for the gas lever and everything on this one. And then something that I learned is that you can use something like a punch, heat it up with a torch, and then use that to wallow out the hole a little bit. And what that actually does is with the hot metal, it actually prevents the carpet from fraying and kind of melts all the ends to make it nice and sealed. So that's what I did, and it worked really well. I still have to do the passenger side, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that, put the car back together, and then we'll go for a drive. Immediately after starting the car, I could tell that there was a significant reduction in noise and rattles in the car, which is fantastic. That's really what I was looking for. So I'm really, really happy about that. We're about to find out how loud the car is, and that same thing, 6th gear, 3,000 RPM. We're gonna pull up the decibel meter now. That's weird. It still shows that same 89 decibels. I don't know, I feel like the car is significantly quieter, and I hope that the camera can pick it up, because
I think it didn't reduce the overall noise levels. Like, sure, it's still the same loudness. There's a lot less ambient noise just hanging in the air, and that was one of the things that was really bothering me. So it is a significant improvement in noise reduction. I'm very, very happy about that. This is great. I wish that I would have done this years ago. This really makes a huge difference in the quality of the driving experience in this car. The original carpet doesn't have any type of backing to it. It's just like blue carpet, that's it. And this has a mastic backing, plus the jute backing, which really helps cut down on heat and sound. This is a huge improvement. And I can feel the floorboard. There's no heat coming through the carpet, or if there is, it is very, very minimal.
I am just so happy with how this turned out. This really, I think, got me what I was looking for in terms of interior feel for the car. It just is so much better for cruising on the highway, around town. Even just starting the car, like I noticed significantly less noise, like the starter clicking and starting. So awesome. I am super stoked with how the carpet turned out. There are some things, I guess, learned from my mistakes here. Let me point out some stuff. I did end up going a little too wide right here near the radio, unfortunately. I'm sure if there's a way to secure it with tape or Velcro or sticky stuff, that'd probably be better. And you can do that. I just didn't secure it in any way like that. The driver's side isn't as noticeable when you're just sitting in the car. There's no way that you can see it, so that's pretty okay. I still don't know how to feel about under the pedals, and I guess maybe that's what we need to talk about next, is an honest review of how I feel about this carpet. If it was worth the money, if there are better options out there, if this is the right choice, or if there's a better choice. Let's talk about my issue with it. The carpet itself is a pretty decent quality. It's a little rough. I actually gave myself a rug burn when I was putting it in and turning around all kinds of stuff on my legs. So yeah, that's kind of bad. But it's, you know, it's car carpet. I don't know what to expect from that. The jute, that like white fibrous kind of stuff, the puffy stuff on the backside, it's a little thicker than I think it should be or needs to be. This is even the middle grade. There's a higher grade one with thicker jute stuff, and that's completely unnecessary. It's actually too thick on a couple of spots. Specifically right here down by the pedals, there is not much room on that side between the transmission tunnel and the gas pedal. And the problem is when you're heel toe shifting, I can't quite get over there because the carpet's in the way. There's just not enough clearance. I'm trying to show this. Maybe I need to put the camera right here. So like my heel is now rubbing on the carpet, so I have to shift my foot over quite a bit more to heel toe shift. And I'm gonna remove the floor mat to see if it's any better, but that is a problem. It also, under the clutch pedal up there, I need to trim it down a little bit because that limits the clutch pedal travel. And I think the same thing for the accelerator pedal. I did notice that as I was pressing the throttle, I can feel like I'm maxing out on the carpet, and that's actually limiting the throttle pedal movement. I can also feel as I push it down, my toe is rubbing on the transmission tunnel over there because of how thick the carpet is with that jute fabric. This is great stuff for the street car feel. It feels significantly better. I might do something, see if there's any way that I can adjust the transmission tunnel with a 2x4 and a hammer and just get a little more clearance over there. Or I might have to pull it apart and almost like thin out the jute stuff. You can do that with you know, pulling off some of that fabric. It might give me some more clearance over there. But that's kind of the problems with this carpet. I think this is the right choice for primarily a street car. So I'm happy with it for this car. If your car is primarily a weekend warrior, you're pretty much using it for canyon runs and occasional street use, or mostly track days with like just driving to and from the track and occasional town outings, I would probably go with just a regular carpet without any of that jute backing. Because the carpet still has some backing to it that is pretty great for sound and temperature isolation or barrier. What I'm talking about is this kind of black gray rubber backing to it. That is like a mastic material, I think is what it's called. And that does a really great job of reducing sound and temperature that comes through the carpet. So just the carpet that has this mastic backing is probably a good choice for a lot of people. If all you're doing with it is just mainly track days with an occasional town outing, just the carpet without the jute is probably pretty good for you. Overall, I am very happy with my choice for Creampuff. I think the next thing that Creampuff needs, at least for that street car feel and similar relation is going to be something for the trunk because I don't have anything back here. That's it for this update on Project Creampuff. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Make sure to keep an eye on my channel for this next update. Another AE86 project that has come my way. I've got lots of stuff to sort out on this, but I'm really excited to get this going. An SR5 to GTS conversion.